Husker at 9, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three. He's going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back for another night of the Hoops postgame show here on 93.7 The Ticket. Thank you to Action Plumbing, Electrical, AC, and Heating for sponsoring this show once again. And as I always say, any day with Nebraska basketball is better than a day without it. And that especially rings true in a loss. You just have to remind yourself of that sometimes. Nebraska coming up short against Indiana today, 81-65. A game of a lot of runs for Indiana. A triple-double, the third triple-double in Indiana basketball history from Trace Jackson Davis. And a lot of threes, and particularly Nebraska missing one of their leaders in Sam Griesel, who was out due to an illness. So a lot to break down in this game. Nebraska, though, does fall to 6-4, and of course, this was their first conference game. So 0-1 in conference play, coming off the big win against Creighton. This one kind of slaps you back in the face, I suppose, back to reality, as Nebraska is starting this long stretch of Big Ten games. They've got Purdue on Saturday, number 4 team in the nation, coming into Lincoln, so they don't have to stew over this loss too much. But let's go ahead and talk about it since we're here. Nebraska, again, loses 81-65. Let's bring in the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet, Eric Strickland. What are your initial thoughts after having watched that game?
It was tough. You had to figure that this team was not even Nebraska, but you had to figure that Indiana was going to go back to Assembly Hall after taking a tough loss, a drubbing basically out there at Rutgers. And so when you look at that, they did what they were supposed to do. This is what the Indiana team, they're 15 team for a reason. This isn't like no fluke situation. And then, you had to look at Trace Jackson Davis. Offensively wasn't that, but it was other guys tonight, guys that weren't hitting shots pretty much for all the beginning of this season for them. They got hot and they hit. I pretty much knew that it would probably be either Tamanaga or Wilcher would play a little bit better, and it was Wilcher tonight that ended up having a pretty good night. Still had good balance. But you can definitely tell. I to be honest, I still don't think that even if they had Griesel the way that Indiana played tonight, that it would have changed anything. I think they played pretty well. They got out rebounded a little bit, and it just was Indiana's night. So sometimes it goes that way.
I interesting that you said that about Griesel, because obviously, regardless of whether the score would have changed, Nebraska did miss him out there, and you felt like, they're kind of getting to point against them. I had a few. It seems the get close. He kind of just backs his guy in and maybe can settle it down there. Now, he's not incredibly efficient there. He's still kind of working on his fadeaway jumpers in there, but he can score. And, he's just kind of got that leadership. He's been in college basketball for a long time. So Nebraska, no doubt, missed him today. And Casey Tamanaga stepped in the starting lineup. And once again, tough for him to get a shot off. He is certainly scouted at this point from Nebraska opponents. I thought he did a good job by the end. And certainly in the second half, he ended up 5-11 from the court, 1 of 3 from beyond the arc, forced a few from beyond the arc just because he's getting frustrated out there with no open looks. But he's doing a good job, I thought, today adjusting to that, whereas he kind of struggled the last game out, despite the win against Creighton. Again, in the it's not just all win or all loss. CJ Welcher had a wonderful game tonight too. I think a career high now, 22 points. So there's some positives here. Did you like Tamanaga kind of adjusting to that throughout the game, showing he's more than just a 3-point shooting threat?
Yeah, I think so. I to be honest, this is a very physical team. Plus, they're long.
Yeah.
And that's why I say that's why I say what I say. Now, I think Griesel probably, the way that he's been playing as of late, could have, helped them in such situations. They did have some unforced turnovers. They got down, and they didn't seem to have a settling type of mentality about him, and sometimes that's what Greasel does. I don't know if posting for this game for him would have been a benefit because they are very physical and strong and long. You could tell by the way that they were running people off of their screens. To your point, Tamanaga. When he was coming off screens, when Wilcher was coming off screens, I mean, they were putting forearms, bodies, and they were running them around, able to split through those picks and get through those picks with physicality. It wasn't even they chased, but that's a Mike Woodson type of team. Mike Woodson comes from NBA stock as well as being familiar there, and that's the identity he has for his team. But running off of those screens and chasing them, that's the pro way that they chase him. Job of doing it tough. They took away angles and they took away passing angles, and they did a good job and get hands in on balls. That's where there was a struggle. Again, Welcome Much had a pretty solid game. They just had some unforced turnovers, didn't shoot the ball well from three. And when you take that into account, and you take into the account a 10 rebound loss, they didn't play bad. Let's just end that right now. They didn't play bad. They played pretty good. They got back into the game at different times, and then they just hit big shots. And that's what you're supposed to do at home. They did what they're supposed to do as a top 25 team in the country, taking care of business at home, and they rebounded from a tough loss. And so that's the thing that Nebraska now has the opportunity to do. They have a tough loss. They go on the road. They played solid. They played winnable basketball defensively. I thought they did. They did some good things. They did some things that they can, take care of and, do better at. Hopefully you'll do that at home. And then hopefully Greasel will get healthy and come back. But you'll have a similar type of opportunity with a team coming into your home building to be able to do the same thing that Indiana did.
Yeah, and that'll talk about physical and maybe not winning the rebound bet with Zach Edey coming in. That'll be a challenge of its own for Nebraska when the Boilermakers get to town. But yeah, I mean, I think you look at some of the stats here, for instance, just from the starting lineup. You had 4 guys in double digits. Once again, Wilcher really played well. 22 points, 7 of 13 from the floor. A couple cuts there deep. Yeah. He was hitting threes early on in the game. Excellent job from him at the free throw line, 6 out of 6. And so he had a great game. Vandemel kind of had his run early on that kind of kept Nebraska in the game, hit some big threes. He had 13. We mentioned Tamanaga getting the start in his 11. Walker, as we mentioned, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. 5 turnovers. That's a lot of 5s. But he's filling up the stat sheet there. And then Gary with the throwdown, only 4 points today, but 7 rebounds and 2 steals. Only 4 points for Nebraska off the bench. And that's where, if you start to think about weaknesses for Nebraska, and they've got a few of them, but that's something that maybe is going to need to be stepped up here as we move forward. And certainly understandable with Greasel out tonight. You take away, Nebraska's 6th man basically in Tamanaga. But of their 4 points, Sam Hoiberg got 2 late, so that hardly even counts with his free throws. Blaze Keita had 2 there. And so, I mean, they've got guys that are coming in and getting minutes, and it's not all about points. But you think especially with that game they just beat Creighton too. They had 3 guys in double digits, not a whole lot of points off the bench. That might be a struggle all year long, not necessarily a strength. It's like Nebraska's deep enough for a rotation, but not deep enough for points.
Yeah, and it's gonna vary from time to time. Sometimes it's going to be a necessary thing, and again, the Greasel absence threw whole rotation off. I mean, Tamanaga had been comfortable, and then all of a sudden on the change of I mean, those are things you learn at this level. Those are things that happen all the time in the NBA. Just situations change like that. But that's an unexpected change at a critical position for you and your team. Again, like I said, they didn't play bad. They shot 43%. Obviously, the threes were not good, but their free throws were even better, 11 for 14, which is something they've been struggling at. That's the type of numbers you have to have on the free throw line in order to win tight games or to get back into games. They just weren't able to get there enough times. They only had 13 turnovers, so it wasn't like it was crazy, but the ones that they had were possessions that they needed. There was one instance, for example, at the half, just before the half, they have the ball with about 49 seconds left. They're down. They have a position in order to score. They turn that ball over. Yeah. Then they get another steal or turnover, I think, from a charge, and then they come back and have another chance to put it under double digits, and they turn it over again. So that's what I'm talking about.
Dunk, yeah.
Yeah, and then to a dunk that takes you down 13. That's a whole different feeling.
Yeah.
Going into half, as opposed, and the thing about that is you didn't even get a shot.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity to get under double digits. You don't even get a shot. They go down, get a steal and a dunk, and then they go in with the momentum. And then after that, they come out and all the way up until about 9 minutes and a half, they were 14-0 run.
Yeah.
You're out of it.
Yeah.
That just made it tough.
Yeah, too many big runs and too many like key plays, like you're saying there. And that's something that you kind of know as a basketball player when you get down that much. That's kind of the goal, right? Get it to single digits at half. I'm sure that they were kind of told that in the huddle, and they were that close, and then it's kind of deflating at the end to have that turnover, and now you're down 13. And then, like you said, I mean, they did a good job coming out of the half. I think they got the first 6 points there, so kudos to them. They've been doing that, actually, which hopefully that continues for Nebraska basketball moving forward. But, I mean, it's also hard to overcome the fact I think the first 7 minutes, around, 6.5 minutes, they had 2 points.
Yeah.
So they really started from a hole because they couldn't get anything going.
Yeah.
Derek Walker usually has been able to kind of be that mismatch. Trace Jackson Davis showed him early. That was probably not going to be the case tonight. And Walker did fine for what it was, but not necessarily the advantage he's had over other guys. Trace Jackson Davis, obviously, All-American candidate. Like we said, if you followed along late there, Mike Woodson kept him in there to get that triple double, which is fine. They were running plays for him to get an assist, which is exciting for Indiana basketball. One of the most storied programs in history to get their third triple double. You don't necessarily like to see that, but it shows you, the kind of player he was. And then, just guys, like you said, that you maybe wouldn't expect. I mean, how about Trey Galloway tonight? He was step back threes off his own dribble.
Yeah.
He averages 4.6 points per game.
Yeah.
And came in and led the team in scoring. And he was starting on, kind of out of nowhere.
Yep.
So a good job bonding, and maybe he'll get some more minutes down the line. He led them with 20 points. Bates had 19, as we mentioned with Trace Jackson Davis. He had 12 with his 11 rebounds and 10 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks as well. So he was kind of a stat stuffer tonight.
And then Bates was big, like you said, off the bench for them with 19. I mean, that's the thing. They just had a little bit more firepower, but it's an expected thing that you just have to try to minimize, like you said, the runs. You've got to minimize the road. You've got, which they were able to do against Creighton, and just tonight was a night that they ran into a buzzsaw. And it happens. It happens in a tough conference like the Big Ten. But again, I think there's lessons to be learned about the physicality as well. That's a very physical team, and this next Purdue team is going to be very similar in their physicality as well. So hopefully you can learn from that. There's some techniques that I would, if I was just talking about coming off screens and the way that you need to initiate that contact, drop it down just a little bit to make sure he was into the screen, as opposed to him pushing you and him initiating to be able to get around screens, because they need to put bodies on people a lot better than they did and help themselves to create space, which they didn't have much space tonight.
And we mentioned Indiana did a pretty good job with their 3-point shooting overall. I think they're like 44% from the field, or excuse me, from the 3-point line. Were they getting better looks than Creighton, or were they just knocking them down?
I think similar looks. You had to double team. They were the game plan was to double team in the post. Most of the guys there were mismatch situations for the Huskers, and to be able to rotate out of them. So they got the looks and they knocked down the shots. It was similar looks that Creighton had. They were able to fire out to them, but then they were able to get extra opportunities a couple times that they were able to knock down shots after that. So yeah, it's based on the game plan, that's going to happen. And it's probably going to be very similar against, they're going to have to double Edey. Edey has killed everybody that did not put 2 bodies on him at the point. And if I'm Fred Hoiberg and crew, I'm not coming at Edey on catch. That's probably what they're going to do, though. I would force him out just a little bit with some physicality, make sure he doesn't get deep, and I come on first dribble, because I think Edey off the dribble doesn't pass as well as he's able to look and wait for you to get there, or you're there and he can turn over you with his size and make a pass out of the double team. I would wait till he puts it on the ground to try to get into his mojo, and then come at him and force him to try to pick it up and try to make a pass out of the double team that way. But we'll see.
Do you think you'll see more than 7 minutes from Blaze Skeeter like we saw tonight against Edie?
You probably
just because
will.
of the height.
You probably will.
Yeah.
And I figure that. Let's be real about it. This is a very athletic Indiana team. I mean, Trace Jackson Davis is a different type of a player. It's not like you're playing Kofi Cockburn or somebody like that with that type of physicality and size. That's where Blaze Keita would be a little bit more effective in that game. This is a very good shooting, not good shooting. They're not a great shooting team. They shot the ball good tonight, but they're a team that's long, athletic, and they can stretch you, and that's what they were able to do tonight. They cut, they pass, and they set good screens. So they're a very fundamentally sound team. Just it wasn't the Huskers' time.
Yeah, it just wasn't their night.
And they don't get an extra shot at them, but that's okay. This is that one off that they get, and they just happen to go on the road against Indiana.
And one other note that I wanted to make tonight was that Nebraska, and they were getting kind of the calls at first, and probably on a few did get the calls and the block charges. They almost were getting too many calls, though, because they like during that second half, there was a stretch where Nebraska got a few calls. Assembly Hall didn't like it. And then I thought that they got another one, but they didn't call it because Assembly Hall didn't like it. Then they they had another one there. I was thinking they might call a flop if you guys keep doing it. I mean, it's part of basketball. But
I think they were legit bodies, but I think there were a couple that were blocks possibly.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Bach, I think that was kind of a switch. Like, wait a minute, we can't just keep giving all these. It just what it seemed like to me, because I would say that was more of a charge than probably at least two other ones that I saw.
Yeah,
that they probably could have gave a block to. I would have probably went the other way, and still, I would have probably shipped it. If I was refereeing the game, I still would have shipped it, because that was the one I think you're talking about was a legit charge. But a couple of them, I think. Denham Dawson kind of did a little slight leaner, and a couple of them got a couple. They got the benefit. So I can't be mad at that.
I could just imagine Assembly Hall was getting quite upset, because when they eventually did call a block, I think, on Nebraska, I think it was one of those joking cheers just to rattle the refs a little bit. But that certainly played a factor in the game. And I think if you're an Indiana fan, you probably got tired of seeing it. But for Nebraska, that's something that they do well. I mean, you saw Blaze Keita out there doing it. They've got several guys that are willing to step in and take that. So another good thing there. And, the other thing that I wanted to mention too is Nebraska throughout this game, obviously it ends closer than it was at a time. So it just kind of got into blowout territory late, but they were a 3-point attempt from Breidenbach. If that would have went down, they would have been within 6 in the second half. And there was a few times in that game where just like, all right, here's the possession where you inch close enough that the game's close again, and they just couldn't get the job done on those possessions.
Yeah, they just couldn't get it done. They couldn't get a bucket. I don't know if the speed of the game or the season, it just seems like in some way that Breidenbach gets sped up a lot, and he had a really good post, good turn, and shoots it literally over the basket. He's got I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. They got to figure out a way to get some production out of him.
Yeah,
he spends some quite a time on court, and not getting the production, and they've got to be able to give Walker some breaks.
Yeah,
and it's got to come from either Keita or him, or they got to either go with Juwan Gary. But I just don't know in long stretches with the size and the physicality of the Big Ten that you can go long stretches with Gary at the 4.
Yeah, I was trying to look at Breidenbach 2 games. Like you said, usually playing double digits in minutes. His high was Florida State, where he had 4 points, but I mean he's been scoring 3, 2, 4. He's
getting opportunities, and he's got to be. I think too. Well, I mean, we could talk about it after the break, but some of the things that's getting them into trouble, we can go and talk about. after the break. We definitely will break that down.
All right, yeah, let's do that. We'll also hear from DP around the corner, but let's take a quick break. We'll be back for the Hoops post-game show, brought to you by Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Nebraska loses tonight, 81-65. We'll be back to break more of it down here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now in our new time. We're on from 8 to 9 with the Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking is a 40-hour work week. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Life-changing research done in outer space. It's also happening right here in Nebraska, and you could play a key role. Solarion, one of the world's leading clinical research organizations, needs healthy adults who are 19 years old and older for research opportunity. If you qualify, you can earn up to $500 a day for time and travel. Overnight stays may be required. To learn more, call Solarion at 866-213-2965 or visit .com/.
Are you tired of lousy internet and faceless customer service? It's time to experience local, honest, hassle-free, and exceptional. That's the Owl promise. We not only provide crazy fast fiber internet, crystal clear TV, and dependable phone service, but we choose to become a part of the communities that we serve and love when everyone calls or stops by our store to say hello. So, don't settle for mediocre, settle for exceptional with Allo. Visit us at the Allo local.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats take care of those problems. Dan has been a leader in life and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsrats.com. Bats Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to a best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts, guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathered place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Lincoln. Hopcat is your pregame headquarters for basketball and volleyball all season long. Hopcat is located at 6th and P in the Haymarket. To plan your next trip to Hopcat, visit www.hopcat.com.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Where the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
This is Megan Whitaker from the Nebraska golf team. If you've put your clubs away for the winter, it's time to get them back out. There's no need to stop thanks to Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle is home to Lincoln's best indoor golf simulators. It's perfect for every level of golfer, with everything from casual games for the kids to hyper-realistic simulations of some of the best courses in the world. And the best part, no matter what the weather's doing outside, it's always golf weather inside. See for yourself, Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even my garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Back to the Tips Basketball Postgame Show. Eric Pearson and former Husker and NBA vet Eric Str on 93.7 The Ticket and the Ticket FM.
We're back here on the Hoops Post Game Show on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Action Heating, Plumbing, AC, and Electrical for sponsoring our show throughout the season here. Nebraska falls to 6-4 on the season with an 81-65 loss in Assembly Hall. Somewhat of a historic night for those Hoosiers as Trace Jackson Davis gets the third triple-double in Indiana basketball history. So, you know, if you watched the game and got upset, at least you saw a little bit of history. Nebraska on their side, not a whole lot of history, but I would say C.J. Wilcher had one of his better games at Nebraska. His game seems to be getting a little bit better. 22 points and just two of those made baskets from beyond the arc. So he's kind of making, and I thought he's done a good job of getting to the bucket. Not always finishing, but even when he doesn't finish, he's usually battling for the rebound, getting a second shot attempt. What do you see from C.J. Wilcher, Strick, as his game is improving?
Well, again, it's going to happen like that for them. And I can bet you against Purdue, there's going to be a scouting report on C.J. Wilcher, and then it may open up for Tamanaga or somebody else. That's the crazy thing about it. I mean, you can only run at so many people where then somebody else is going to be open. So they just can't, they don't really still, even with Vanderbilt, even with Griesel's effectiveness comes in his ability to post up and his strength in his straight line drives to the basket, right? They still, where they struggle is they don't have a guy that literally can break you down and get you a bucket or get you space to create another shot. That's where there's trouble. And look, if you look at their assist numbers tonight, it was nowhere near what they need to have to be successful because they have to help each other to get open. They're not going to have somebody that's just going to be able to take you off the dribble, get to a mid-range, and be able to make a shot. You can see they struggled in getting into the paint. A lot of their floaters and a lot of their stuff were missed tonight. So that's where their issue is. And I think we got a caller, but I'll let you take that and then that I was going to make.
Yeah, actually, the caller should be DP.
Oh, it's DP.
Yeah, DP is on the air. DP, is that you?
It is indeed.
I was hoping because I give you the introduction there. First of all, hopefully you're having a good night. Nebraska obviously falling in this game to Indiana at historic Assembly Hall for what it's worth.
It was a historic night for one of those guys.
Yeah, let's get cool, but not as Nebraska fans because they'd rather see victory. What did you see from Nebraska responding after that Creighton win, and then of course not having their starting point guard to go into it?
Scrappy. Scrappy. It you're not taking the moral victories and not trying to claim victory, not trying to steal good out of a loss. But what you can do is say we saw some things when this team could have folded several times. They could have just tapped out, went to the fetal position. They could have just rolled up and said, this is not our night. But they fought, they battled. We saw some things from folks, and we have questions about some folks from what we saw. We love what we saw from C.J. Wilcher. We've been wondering, okay, where is C.J. in the space of things? When they need a bucket, can C.J. be the guy? Especially when you take a leader off the floor. And we saw how important Sam Griesel was to this team and how they play, how they're going to play, how they need to play. But C.J. stepping up and battling on the road. If this was at home, I'd probably say, okay, this is kind of what we expected. But a career high at 22, hard-earned, hard-fought. Vanderbilt is exactly who we thought he is at checking all the boxes. Anything that needs to be done, he'll do in that space. Tamanaga's got some fight in him. Listen, he's going to have shooter nights. But if we said 5 of 11 and didn't see the game, we go, yeah, we're satisfied with 5 for 11. Slow start. Derek Walker's 5-7. Was it attractive? Was it pretty? No, because it started with 2 blocks, and that set the tone for the game. So we saw some things We got some answers. We have more questions, but we have to start the discussion with the missing Sam Greasel.
Yeah, and it makes you kind of wonder because you mentioned Walker there. Do you feel like Nebraska, because we saw it from early in the season, do you feel like they miss Derek Walker when he's out or Sam Greasel when he's out more? Obviously, it's both guys.
It's both guys. I mean, listen, in the Big Ten Conference, you need, on any night, you need 2 players to play to star level on any night in the Big Ten, and that's any Big Ten team. Any Big Ten team needs 2 players, 2 starters to have star nights, and then on those great nights you get a third. Well, you miss Sam Greasel. Like that's a big thing. The same could be said for Derek Walker being missing. We saw how him not being in the lineup affects this team. I think we're close to that in Bandamel, right? That for the minutes that he eats, again, this is a 35-minute night for him after a 40-minute night, I believe, the other night. You're going to miss any of that's going to be the big 3. And then whatever else you get, if Juwan Gary gives you what he's going to give you, if Blaise Keita can give you a little what he gives you, or CJ. Like, you're missing one of the big 3. They got 4 people in double digits. Greasel would have been a 5th. That's how it shows up. Look, he's important because he handles the ball, he gets him in the offense, and he gives them defensive presence at the top of the defense. So, yeah, they missed him, but they're going to miss, if they miss any one of those big 3, it's going to be a tough night for them.
Also, I just want to ask you, kind of as a coach, what are you telling guys like Jamarcus Lawrence, Denham Dawson? Both had double-digit minutes. Both were able, a few shots, and they play tough defense out there. But Nebraska needs a little bit of contribution off the bench, especially without Greasel. Tominagan moved into the starting lineup. But as we move forward here and those young players grow, what are you kind of telling them as you want to keep their confidence up? This is their kind of their first run through the Big Ten here. And it can be easy to start to kind of doubt yourself when you're maybe not contributing as much as obviously you expected to coming out of high school.
Well, I mean, I think both of those. So Denham Dawson's a different deal. He's an energy guy, and whatever points you get from him are going to be on steals and off defense and in transition. That's kind of what you understand. With Lawrence, look, they understood with all the pressure Nebraska was getting, that having another option, having a third ball handler, creator guy to do that, his minutes are just for that. If Greasel's not there, if Bandamel fatigues, right, because he can't play 40 minutes every night, you need that third ball handler, and you don't want to rely on Derek Walker to do it. So Lawrence is going to get out there and give you minutes. What you want are positive minutes. I'm not sure what the plus minuses were, but I don't think they were that terrible for the 10 minutes that either of them were on the floor. They can't go over. That's not ideal, but this is they're dipping their toe in the Big Ten Conference. So elite freshmen, first year players have these sort of nights. They're going to play double digits. The shots aren't down. They're still going to have to contribute on defense. They're going to contribute by not turning the ball over. They were on the floor. I think between the 2 of them, they had 1 turnover. That's not fatal in that space. But 0 for 4 with 1 turnover, not ideal. But this is their first entry into the Big Ten. For most players who are your 8, 9, 10 players, get out there, don't hurt me, don't do anything fatal. I think they succeeded in the double-digit minutes that they played. They weren't terrible. They just didn't score.
Yeah, and then the other player we kind of highlighted there is Breidenbach, and the reason why I would say that I wouldn't say he's like major struggling, but it's just we've seen more from him before. What do you think's kind of going on with Breidenbach?
Well, this is still his first run. You remember, he got hurt early on last year. So this is his first run in the Big Ten Conference. This is the style of play. I mean, he's faced 4 consecutive Power 5 schools who defend at a high level, who have the size that he has. They measure up to him. Look, he played at Mater Dei. He's used to being in high-intensity basketball games. Strick can tell you that. For the folks that he's faced already, he's faced some monsters. But in the Big Ten, he's got to learn, and the game hasn't slowed down for him yet. It will. There will be a night, sometimes this winter, at a faraway gym in the Big Ten Conference where Breidenbach, all of a sudden, the game will slow down, and the things that he needs to see, he'll see him at a slower pace and be able to act on it. It's just early. Yeah, I would think that this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is like game 6 or 7 in the Big Ten for Breidenbach.
Yeah.
So give him some time. He's still basically a freshman learning how to play Big Ten basketball.
And DP, I wanted to get your thoughts on Strick's point. We were talking during the break, and I'm not setting you up perfectly here, Strick, but you did have a little bit of a critique from what you saw that as the team continues to build and probably get adjusted to this Big Ten play.
Yeah. So some of the things that I was seeing, DP, and love your thought on it, that they can correct is over driving, over dribble into traffic, which gets them into trouble, whether it be with an errant pass or a turnover pass. Some of the things that they've been doing that they really just have to just make that pass just one half a dribble or one dribble before. Once you draw the defense, you've got to make the pass, and I think they struggle a little bit with that tonight. What's your thought?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's in a lot of that spacing, first of all, and identifying for young players, a tough thing for them to identify, especially in Hoiberg's offense, is identifying when the space is right for you to penetrate, right? Like to actually not go into traffic. We always tell people in this offense, if there's traffic, I don't want you running into traffic. Like, I don't need that. I don't need you creating traffic, right? Don't dribble to chaos. I don't need you dribbling to somebody else's space. I need for you to push them, and then that's also the teammate understanding, look, if I'm driving at you, I'm almost demanding that you cut to the basket or move to a different spot on the floor. They're learning this stuff, right? As much as you do it in practice, people do the same things. Then you get to the Big Ten where they don't react the way that your teammates react in practice, and then once you've seen it, it slows down and you recognize it. The people that are doing it, new players to the system, new players to Big Ten basketball, I don't mind. As a matter of fact, I kind of want Tominaga to do more of it because he breaks down defenses and causes chaos. It's not for CJ. It's not for Breidenbach. It's not for Cato. Everybody else has a pretty good understanding of space and offense. They're just going to have to learn it, Strick. It's that you would know, okay, if I'm driving at you, I either see that you can get behind your defender for a back cut, or I need space. So I'm forcing you out of one of the spots on the floor. I just don't think they have that sort of experience or knowledge yet.
And DP, what do you think kind of prevented Nebraska tonight? We were talking about it too. There was a few possessions. Obviously, there are a lot of runs for Indiana, but there's just a few possessions. Nebraska had the chance to cut it to 6, had the chance to get it to single, get over that hump. Was that, is that something that kind of mentally, adds over on you throughout the game as, you've had those attempts, especially that one toward the end of the first half that we were talking about where they seemingly had the final possession, looking to cut it to single digits, instead turn the ball over and give up a dunk. Then you go into halftime down 13.
Well, that's when you get into not having Griesel out there, to your quarterback, your actual quarterback out there to get you into something. Strick's heard it a million times from the bench. Hey, Strick, get me into something. Get me into something. Big possession. I need you to get me into something. Let's not just run whatever. There's something that you do extraordinarily well, or a player that has an advantage. Maybe you got a little lamb, mouse in the house. You got to work something. You need your quarterback on the floor to get you into that thing, or to identify who your go-to guy is. And in that case, you want the ball in the hand of Vanderbilt. You want him to look for CJ, get Derek in the space. Those are things that you do in those crucial possessions. But the thing that we always say is, if you're on a run, copy success. If you're on a run and things are working, if a player's hot, or you got a matchup that's working for you, on crucial possessions, go back to it, copy success. Again, this is a thing that this group, depending on the 5 on the floor, have to learn. That no matter what 5 is on the floor, you have to stick to your principles.
And the final question for you, DP. Nebraska welcome in the Boilermakers, a top 5 team in Purdue on Saturday. It will be an exciting matchup for Nebraska to potentially, get back on the right side of things, and would be absolutely huge for the program if they can get a victory. What do you think their keys are? Before obviously having scouted too much of Purdue, but I know you know a little bit about them. What do you think Nebraska has to do in these next days to prepare for Zach Edey and the Boilermakers?
Well, I'm gonna let Edey get his. But I'm gonna go at Edey. I'm gonna go at him. This look, and Strick may disagree with me, but this Purdue team likes to rely on Edey, and they have a tendency to watch, to stop playing and to watch. When they keep playing, when they play through and don't rely on Edey, Edey is a monster. But when they go to Edey and they focus on it and they start watching Edey go to work, they stop moving. The shot selection is different. They'll have this, look, if Edey gives them 25 and 10, I don't think that's fatal to Nebraska. If there's 2 other players that get 17, it's a long day for Nebraska. It's a long day if they're getting other people involved. If Edey's doing the heavy lifting, Nebraska should be okay because that's a pace that they can get away with. But if they get 2 or 3 other Boilermakers going, it's like Indiana did tonight. They had guys scoring 20 points that in a pregame, Nebraska would say, look, if they get 20 points, we're okay. That's going to be the plan of attack. Make somebody else beat you.
Yeah, and obviously Zach Edey, we're going to be up there for All-American awards and all that, but it does help that Derek Walker has seen him before rather than just kind of the fresh matchup there. DP, we'll let you go, and we'll hear plenty more from you tomorrow on Old School.
Yes, sir.
All right, there he goes. There goes DP. Let's take a quick break on the Hoops post-game show. We'll wrap things up, get Strick's thoughts on the upcoming matchup against Purdue. We'll do that next here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Life-changing research doesn't just take place in outer space. It's also happening right here in Nebraska, and you could play a key role. Solarion, one of the world's leading clinical research organizations, adults who are 19 years old and older for a research opportunity. If you qualify, you could earn up to $500 a day for time and travel. Overnight stays may be required. To learn more, call Solarion at 866-213-2965 or visit helpresearch.com/500.
This is Megan Whitaker from the Nebraska golf team. If you put your clubs away for the winter, it's time to get them back out. There's no need to stop thanks to Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle is home to Lincoln's best indoor golf simulators. It's perfect for every level of golfer, with everything from casual games for the kids to hyper-realistic simulations of some of the best courses in the world. And the best part, no matter what the weather's doing outside, it's always golf weather inside. See for yourself. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 9th and P or at 1501 Center Park Road.
Hey, it's Sean Callahan, and football season is here, and there is one place that has all the games plus great food and beer specials. Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill. Whether it's Thursday night football, college football Saturdays, NFL Sundays, or Monday night football, great view of the game from any seat with different food and drink specials every night. Try the Blue Ribbon Reuben Sandwich or the Prime Rib French Dip or any of their famous chicken wings. That's Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill.
Warhorse Casino Lincoln is open, and guests are winning big already. Get in on the fun at Nebraska's first casino. Try your luck on your favorite slot machines and join the Warhorse Rewards program for exclusive offers. The best is yet to come as we continue to build a world-class experience for our guests. Right off Highway 77 and West Denton. You'll always leave feeling like a winner at Warhorse Casino Lincoln.
Must be 21 or older to enter. Proper ID is required. Gambling problem? 1-833-BET-OVER. You had to know that when Wingstop set out to make a crispy, juicy chicken sandwich, they wouldn't make it in just one flavor. They'd make it in all 12, like lemon pepper, mango habanero, hickory smoked barbecue, and OG hot. So why have one new favorite chicken sandwich when you can have 12? Try the new sauced and tossed Wingstop chicken sandwich today for only $5.49 at Wingstop, where flavor gets its wings. Valid for a limited time and available at participating Wingstops only while supplies last. Price subject to applicable taxes and fees.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even my garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Back to the Tickets Basketball Postgame Show, featuring Derek Pearson and former NBA vet Eric Strickland on Nice Ticket and the team.
We are wrapping up things here on the Hoops Postgame Show on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks again to Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical for sponsoring our show. I'm Jake Bachman, alongside the Husker Hall of Famer and longtime NBA vet Eric Strickland. Thanks again to DP for jumping in that last segment and giving us his thoughts there. Once again, Nebraska falling this evening 85 to 61, 81 to 65. Got that reverse there. The Indiana Hoosiers beat Nebraska at Assembly Hall. Interestingly enough, and I thought that was kind of a weird stat going into this game. Indiana has lost 5 straight to Rutgers, and Rutgers beat them for this game. So maybe it was before this game, I should say. So maybe this was a bit of a deal where Indiana was very hyper-focused and not willing really to let that happen again. For Nebraska on the other end, of course, coming off that Creighton victory, snaps the 3-game losing streak. But they've got a chance to get on the good side and the good grace once again of the basketball gods when they invite Purdue and the Boilermakers to Pinnacle Bank Arena. That game will be on BTN if you're not able to make it in Lincoln here at 1:15 on Saturday. And Purdue, as you kind of look at them, of course, Zach Edey, the well-known giant big man for the Boilermakers, they always have one of those guys, and he averages 23 and almost 13. He's a 7'4", 295-pounder. If you've been watching Big Ten basketball over the last couple of years, he's hard to miss. So he's there. They also often have a really good three-point shooter, and they've done so once again with a freshman. Fletcher Lawyer is their second leading scorer. He averages about 12.5 per game, but he hoists a lot of three-point shots. So that's something to look out for. And they've got several guys around them that can also shoot threes. So that's a pretty good recipe that they've had down there in West Lafayette for quite some time. Big man, fine shooters out on outside. How is Nebraska fit, do you see, with their defense, which has kind of been kind of a man-up zone type of deal and kind of scattering? They've kind of stuck with that. Do you think that might work against Purdue?
Well, I think that you'll probably see some zone action against this Purdue team. Purdue doesn't really shoot the ball collectively that great from three. They're only 33% from three as a whole. Best, especially coming back at home, putting multiple eyes on Zach Edey. That's something that you have to be cognizant of, right? I think also that they're not a huge assist team. So, but where they do have strength is in their rebounding. They're beating teams, and I'm talking about good athletic teams, size type teams, by double digits. 43 rebounds to like 31. That's collectively over the season. So the way with Zach Edey, another thing they're going to have to do is most teams against them are only shooting 24%. And you saw the Nebraska shot tonight, right? Tonight, that game is going to be you're going to have to live if you're the Huskers in the mid-range, because if you go in there thinking you're going to challenge that man, he leads the team in blocks. There's not really any other person outside of that. But what they do with that is they're saying, we're running you off threes, we're challenging everything you think you have an open to shoot, and then all of a sudden you're going to try to penetrate in there and hang out with Zach Edey, and we're okay with that. That's basically how they're saying. So you're going to have to live in the mid-range. You're going to have to shot fake, let them rotate, hit that top guy, let another rotation happen, and quick hit the other guy if you want to get a 3 off. That's how their stuff is going to happen in this game. So they're going to have to live in the mid-range, because I'm telling you, if you go in there and you think you're going to go bullheaded and continue to, beat your head against the wall, Zach Edey's going to continue to beat that stuff into the first row.
Is that going to be particularly difficult for Derek Walker, who's done a good job kind of body checking people? But I mean, he's going to have the length to kind of.
Derek has the ability to create space, but he's going to have the length to challenge it. So Derek's going to have strong counters, but with that's where the defense comes in, and they're digging on your counters. Then Derek's got to be cognizant of making the pass and not getting too deeper into trouble, and still have angles to score over Edey. But other than that, I don't think he's going to have those same type of angles that he's had, because Zach Edey's able to take the contact and still have the space to challenge and block shots. So we'll see. I think Derek will be okay.
Well, as we mentioned, Indiana did have that loss to Rutgers, but they improved to 8-1 tonight. So now Nebraska plays the only undefeated team left in the Big Ten, the Purdue Boilermakers. As you mentioned, it's not like this team's just playing your typical non-con. I mean, they beat Duke, they beat Gonzaga, right. 2 top 10 victories already. This is a very proven team already, and Zach Edey's led them in scoring with over 20 points in each of the last 8 games, and he's had over 30 twice now. So it doesn't take a genius in the scouting report, but it might take a genius to stop a 7-4 dominant man in the middle there. So that's
with good touch and shoots good free throws.
Yeah.
So you can't just foul him and just think that you're going to be okay. He shoots pretty good from the free throw line. So that's how he's able to have great success as well.
Is there something in the water in West Lafayette? How's Matt Painter always find? He's got another 7-2 guy on the roster just when Edey graduates. So
I don't have a clue how he happens to pull those guys down there into Boilermaker country, but somehow he gets some kudos to him for being but it's what he recruits. He recruits style, and a lot of college teams are not recruiting that style. He says this is a good formula for us. So there's a lot of guys with that size that get passed over, missed over, because they don't fit the style of play of what college basketball. It's a very stretched style now, because that's what the NBA is looking for.
Yeah, and I did want to ask you too, does Trace Jackson Davis, he came back in part because he's kind of a second round projection. Maybe his game doesn't project to the NBA as well. He's not a shooter, but he's athletic, long, physical. Do you think there's a spot in the game still for Trace Jackson Davis at the next level, or is it going to be difficult to carve out a role there?
I think he does. I think he does. He does a lot of different things. As you can see, doing what he did tonight is going to put him on the map to show that he has a versatility in the game. Because a guy like him, you can work on a jumper. Mm-hmm. So if you can just teach him, which he didn't have to ever do in most of his career, because he was so much more physical than anybody else. But he seems as if he has at least the form in order to be worked on. So you can teach that to him.
Yeah, I'll be excited to see if he makes it in the next level, because he'll
probably start in the G League.
Yeah. But he's been a college basketball player for quite some time. He's one of those guys, like, he still has eligibility.
Right.
Man, that guy's been good since he's a freshman. So it's I guess this might be the farewell unless they find him again in the Big Ten tournament. But we'll have to see that. By the way, Nebraska women did get the win tonight, 82-54 over Wisconsin. So congratulations to the ladies. They improved to 7-3. Jazz Shelley with 31 points tonight. So if you're a Husker basketball hooper and you feel a little down, well, just think about the ladies, because they did get the job done tonight. That'll just about wrap it up for us here on the Hoops Post Game Show. Thanks again to you guys for listening. We see your comments, and we'd like to respond to them a little bit more too. So thanks for adding that to that as well. Jeff Worrell says makes a person forget the Creighton win. I'm not going to forget the Creighton win. Maybe
it's just part of being a road tested team. You're not going to win all of them on the road, but you just go out there and compete and hope you can get one.
Yeah, and this is Nebraska basketball, where they're at right now, and just any team in basketball. it's a long season. You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have some losses. Hopefully Nebraska able to rebound from this. After the Purdue game, there is a week break. And then, the Big Ten play doesn't get back for a while. So we'll kind of see where this program is. Hopefully at least 1-1 in the conference with 2 top 10 wins. That could be a hope. All right, that'll wrap it up for the Hoops Post Game Show. We'll have our normal ticket programming starting at 6 o'clock in the morning with early break. We'll catch you guys then. Have a good evening.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make